Hello there. It's good to see you. I'm Mitch Goldberg with Be the Boss of Your Money. I'm a financial advisor. The name of my firm is Client First Strategy. And I am here to talk to you about, I think it's clever and cute. I call the show Be the Boss of Your Money. It's my live stream. But I'm here to really talk to you about investing, learning how to invest, becoming better with your personal finance, and telling you things along your journey of life that will help you make better financial decisions, which my expectation is which will allow you to have a better life. And that's what this is for. So if you are out there, um, I would love it for you to ask me your questions in the comments. I This broadcast is looking a little bit choppy on my end, and I'm curious if it's coming out choppy on your end. I'm going to take a quick look at my LinkedIn and see for a second if it's coming out okay. A little choppy. On my end. It's actually coming out pretty good through LinkedIn, so I'm satisfied. So I would like to welcome you to Be the Boss of Your Money, and I am very happy that you are here. We're talking about pot stocks in particular, how to invest in them, and I'm going to talk to you more specifically about exchange traded funds. I'm going to share with you a very good resource that you could check out on your own. Different, the 9 different pot stock exchange traded funds. Okay, so you're watching Be the Boss of Your Money. Let's roll the intro, and then we've got a couple of things to jump into. I meant to have the thumbnail up first. You see that for the first screen, but that's okay. Let's just roll the intro and let's talk about the market, investing in pot stocks, because we talk about a lot of things that you want to know. Here we go. All right, we're back. Thank you. I'm Mitch Goldberg. You're watching my live stream, Be the Boss of Your Money. Thank you so much. It means a lot to me that you take your time to check this stuff out. I want to talk to you about investing in pot stocks. I'm going to do a little share screen, but the most important thing is I want to give you a way to think. Okay, that's really the most important thing. I want to give you a way to think about investing. And I think the reason marijuana stocks, this little niche micro industry, caught my eye is because 3 reasons. First, right after the election, the sector started to do pretty well. Maybe hoping that a blue wave, a blue sweep between Democrats taking the presidency, the House, and the Senate, that would get marijuana legalized throughout the U.S. It's still a felony, the drug. It's not legal on a federal level, even though about 35 states have actually legalized marijuana, either for recreational or for medical. But it's legal in one way or another in 35 states. And I'm talking about not the CBD. I'm talking about the actual psychotropic product from marijuana, not just like the hemp derived CBD, which seems to have popped up everywhere over the last few years. You can get CBD products at 7-Eleven, at CVS, at Walgreens. It's just all over, and everybody is out there trying to, not everybody, a lot of people are trying to really market CBD. I kind of feel like we saw this before in the vitamin world and the healthcare supplement world, where there's a new product and finally somebody figures out how to really market it well to consumers, and that's what works for CBD. All right, where expected to work with as far as marketing goes for CBD. But we're talking about pot stocks, investing in them, and I think people are interested in it. Well, first of all, I think most people in the United States are pro legalization. The war on drugs, which was enacted by President Nixon in 1971, has, for the most part, I'd say for the whole part, has been a disaster. And we lost that war. But it's been going on since 1971, so almost 50 years. It's time to put that away and realize most Americans don't want stiff penalties for possessing or using small amounts of marijuana. And you combine that with the term super predator, and you've basically seen two generations of young black men who've really been so painfully disadvantaged because of the war on the war. I can't even call it a war. You have to do air quotes when you call it a war, the war on drugs, and the super predator term. So it's time. And if people want marijuana, they could find it. I mean, everyone who wants it can get it. And again, it is legal in a lot of states. I think the most popular place is Colorado, but it's legal in so many jurisdictions that if you want it, even where it's not legal, anyone who wants it can get it. And it could actually be a source of tax revenues for states. Some people who are still living in the 1970s are against legalization. I just want to let you know my which side I'm taking here. There are some people who just say no, and it's like, well, if you don't want to use it, you don't have to. But I don't think you should enforce that will on other people. Oh, but it'll be bad for the country. Everybody will be walking around high on drugs. Well, I think a lot of people are already walking around high on drugs, be it prescription, be it alcohol, be it marijuana, and other illegal drugs that people are using and killing each other for, and drug wars and gang wars and money laundering and all those other horrible things. So we're just talking about pot here, folks. We're not talking about any other major drugs, and we're not talking about just letting everybody become a dealer. It's wherever it's legal, it's very regulated. There's a lot of consumer protection, but the companies that sell it, manufacture it, dispensaries, they have to keep cash on hand. Some of them are subject to 50% tax rates. There are so many rules and regulations. It's a wonder that anybody could even survive in the business. So the thought is that recently the House of Representatives, mostly in party lines, but there were a few Republican Matt Gaetz of Getz, Goetz, Matt, I call Matt Getz of Florida. He actually was the sole Republican representative who co-sponsored a bill that was passed in Congress last week to legalize marijuana. Doubtful it'll get, well, I should say doubtful it'll get passed through the Senate. It could, but I don't want you to bet on that. The whole risk of marijuana stocks is the regulatory risk. If they don't become approved, if it keeps getting set back, then you see the sector basically take another dip. So you're really waiting for these stocks to for the laws to change. That's a tough thing to wait for. And if you look at some of the popular stocks like Tilray, and I wrote an article. I should have posted it, but I'll post it in the comments. I wrote an article called "The Tilray Toll" for CNBC, where I compared Bitcoin and pot stocks, and they would tank. I was right about that, but now you see Bitcoin has gone back up, and you see pot stocks going back up. So people want to know, is this an emerging growth opportunity? Is this an opportunity to make a lot of money? And is it worth getting into? Because you could see the growth. People would really be interested in this. And, no one's really captured the market yet. And all of a sudden, the companies that survive, because we had a bloodbath in the sector. It was up and up and up 3 or 4 years ago. The stocks crashed. Nobody paid attention to them until recently started going up again. But the strongest ones are the ones that have survived. These companies are looking more and more like legitimate, real companies. and we have to take a look. So I'm not here to pick on the individual stocks. Kronos is another hot one, and GW Granger. That has worked out very well. It's 400 and change. They came out with a drug, a marijuana based drug for epilepsy that is widely used, and it's approved in the United States and the Western world. So the three major. So let me just do a quick share screen, and hopefully this will work out better than it did yesterday. All right, so we're going to do a quick share screen. Just be patient. All right, be patient. Let me blow this up so you could see this a little better. I got my screens a little too close together. The beauty of live streaming. Let me see if I can blow that up a little bit so you could get a better view. All right. This is a terrific website that a lot of people use to do research for exchange traded funds. It's a very simple website. It is ETF.com. And these are the 9 ETFs in the industry. The smallest one is $15 million under management. I think with such a small niche place, I'm not even sure. I don't think we really have room for that many ETFs, which is why it's so hard to attract. But the top ETF is the symbol is MJ. It used to be called the Alternative Harvest Fund, and that has about $1 billion. And then there's the advisor Pure Cannabis. It's for U.S. companies. That's got 162 million. And then they get a little smaller on down the road. And you see the expense ratios. The top ones are 0.75, 0.74, 0.70. I saw actually one of the YouTubers who's not a financial advisor come out and say, these are crazy, sky high, crazy expensive. Listen, if it's 70 basis points and you've got $100,000 in all U.S. focus, my friend Jay is watching. I just saw his comment out there. What's where I'm trying to if you think investing $10,000 into an ETF and you're paying $70, if that's too much for you, what can I tell you? Then go pick the individual stocks and take the risk. The reason you go with an ETF is so you could avoid having to pick 1 or 2 individual stocks, which might be the losers in the group. At least with the ETF, you're diversified. Now, diversification is a strategy that we use to reduce risk, but it doesn't protect your portfolio from a generally down market. But I think that goes especially for the sector. So if the sector goes down, these stocks are going down hard. This is a very speculative sector to be in. I think pot stocks are very aggressive, very, very speculative. And I would say the money that you put into this group, it's really for money that if it doesn't work out, it's not going to make or break your financial future. This is like an extra added place to go for some potentially supercharged returns, but it is very speculative. And this is certainly not something that I would just do a blanket recommendation, make a blanket recommendation to all of my clients. It's just not for that. But I'm going to take a quick look at a few of the ETFs. Okay. This is the MJ ETF. And if you look at its holdings, it's not necessarily all in cannabis. All right. It's got some land. It's got some, fertilizer companies, et cetera. It's not really something I'm into. YOLO to me, you have to love the symbols. This is YOLO. You only live once is the ticker symbol. And this has got some derivatives in it. It's actively managed. But YOLO is up 35% year to date. So when I say that, it gets your attention. The MJ Alternative Harvest ETF is down 11%. And the other big one is THCX. And that one it's up 1% on the year. So I don't think you missed anything, but THCX is, I like it because in a lot of ways it's a pure play. I know there's Scotts Miracle Grow in there and it's not necessarily a pot company. They sell to the pot industry, and they're supposed to have a certain amount of their revenues that at least come from the pot growing industry. So I think that you could take really a shot on any one of these, but if I was to take a shot, YOLO is actively managed. So you've got a fund manager picking and buying and selling the stocks. And I think the sector is new enough that you could have active management in it. And obviously, the actively managed fund in the space has done really well. This one, THCX, is based on their own proprietary index. They rebalance the portfolio monthly, which I think is it's a little too much, because if you keep rebalancing, you're never really giving your stocks a chance to really run. So I'm not really into something rebalancing. And they use artificial intelligence to pick the stocks and change the index, and they gauge investor enthusiasm or investor attitudes toward the individual pot stocks. So I hope that makes my preference clear in which one I would want. But I think it's a sector that it's you have to view this as an emerging growth sector, which typically has big ups and downs. If we don't get an approval on the federal level in the United States, then I think that keeps a lid on the stock and I think on the sector, and this sector will trade up based on hope of a approval on the federal level. If we do get the approval, then I think you've got a lot of winners, and I think the companies that have survived the nuclear winter of pot stocks. About 3 or 4 years ago, we had that Canadian Day, where Canada on a national level, federal level, they approved the marijuana industry. So you could use cash, you could bank. American companies that sell pot and grow pot are not even allowed to keep their money in the bank. They're not allowed to have a checking account. They're not even allowed to be part of the financial system, and they can only use real cash, not like credit cards or anything like that. So is it worth a shot? If you are interested in emerging growth and you just saw how the work from home, stay at home tech stocks have done, and you just saw how well Bitcoin has done, and you feel like you want to catch another big winner, I think that's the potential that you could get from the pot industry. And just like Bitcoin was very speculative, it worked. Just like a lot of the work from home, stay at home stocks were considered overpriced and speculative, and then some of them became humongous winners. I think that's what happens. I think that's how you view the emerging pot industry. And what's good is, because of the nuclear winter of the last few years and all these stocks finally cratered, I think a lot of the wannabes have disappeared, and just a lot of people just jumping onto the business who had no business being in this business are pretty much out of it. And I do think what's left in the group are at least the survivors. So if it does work, you've got them. The ETFs that cover these stocks, they're mostly similar. They all have their own claim on why they're better than the next one. Either they're more pure or focus solely on the pot industry, while others are in tobacco companies that are trying to to get into the pot industry. Tobacco is just a shrinking, dying business anyway. Some of them could be a liquor company that bought a piece of a pot company. I think it's Kronos is not majority owned, but under 50, but a big chunk of it is owned. I think something like 40% or so of it is owned by Constellation Brands. So I think there's potential in it. Buyer beware. If you do get into it, you really have to just use money that you could afford to lose. If the group does become legitimized because the marijuana industry gets the approval on the federal level to operate like a real industry, it doesn't mean you automatically miss it. I think you see a pop. That's the easy money. Actually, I think the easy money's already been made, but that's the next leg. And then the third leg is just to hold on for the long term. And some of these companies will emerge as giants in the industry, and somebody will become the brand name in the industry. Just think of it, there's a lot of soda companies, but there's only 2 companies that count: Coca-Cola and PepsiCo. And we haven't found our Coca-Cola or PepsiCo yet of the pot industry on a national and international level. So that's where we stand. So I want to thank anyone out there who checked this out. Jay, thank you. Yep, most ETFs make it easier not to be a stock picker. Absolutely. And yeah, all US focused on that other ETF that we spoke about. So that's my story. I'm sticking to it. I hope this helps you make up your decision about which one to pick. But ETF.com is an excellent website with some really good tools and research that covers the overall ETF industry. So if you're looking to get into a niche ETF, that's a place to go. I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you.